It's the beginning of the week, and I apologize. It's Monday, August 17th, 2020, and this is all of your morning news and headlines to get your day and your week started off right. So let's start off with some of the news about election 2020. So we've got the Democratic National Convention, which begins tonight. It's set to run from tonight until Thursday, and it's set to be all done virtually this year. So this is a little bit unconventional, as we know. Conventions for major parties, for the political parties, tends to be big events with lots of fanfare. They're meant to inspire a lot of people to get involved, and they are a big optics programming event for both of the parties. This is something that the parties really rely on a great deal to get voters amplified and amped and excited and ready to go. If you'll recall, in 2016, during the Republican National Convention, there were the chants of "lock her up" that made a lot of headlines. And then, of course, on the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton became the first major party nominee for president of the United States. And these are big events. And so the coronavirus pandemic has actually made it necessary that these events become virtual. So the Democratic convention will be held virtually for 4 nights. And the speaker list is really star-studded. There's a lot of Democratic power players involved in this schedule. So we've got everybody from Bernie Sanders to AOC, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Wednesday night is a big headliner event with Hillary Clinton. We've got Elizabeth Warren. We've got a lot of powerful names. Michelle Obama is planning on speaking, former President Barack Obama, former President Bill Clinton, Nancy Pelosi. So it's going to be, I think, as big an event as it could possibly be. They've managed to get some live performances involved as well. So we know Billie Eilish will be performing. There will be celebrities, just as usual. We know on Monday night, Eva Longoria will be there. Kerry Washington will be there one night. Julia Louis-Dreyfus will be there. So they are doing their best to make this still an event. It will be streaming on all streaming platforms. So it's starting about 9 p.m. Eastern time and should run till about 11. So this is the other thing that's a little bit different, is that these conventions tend to be an all-day affair, many speakers, televised all day. In this instance, they're really doing a primetime slot of programming. Beginning tonight, I think for more information, you can visit demconvention.com. What do you guys think? Will you be watching the Democratic National Convention? Are you even interested this year? Do you think that the normal fanfare of having these conventions be these live events, not having it have that kind of setting, will be detrimental to it? Does it interest you at all? Who are you most interested in listening to and hearing speak? I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. The other news of the weekend, that President Donald Trump's brother Robert died on Saturday of 71 years old. That was announced by the White House. Mr. Trump called his younger brother Robert his best friend and visited him in the hospital moments before he passed. The White House has not released any indication as to the cause of death of Donald Trump's younger brother, and many are speculating, though of course there is nothing to confirm, because the White House will not release information that this is a COVID-19 death. But again, no information has been released. And his Democratic opponent, Joe Biden, did tweet out his condolences to Mr. Trump, which many found to be refreshing, given that this isn't the kind of dynamic we usually see right now in politics, where adversaries, especially during elections, show each other that kind of empathy. Did you guys, are you interested in knowing the cause of death? If it is a coronavirus related death, does the White House have a duty to inform the American people about this? Has the coronavirus struck home? It's an interesting question, and I think people are interested to know, because this is the highest office holder in the land. And what do you think about Joe Biden's response? And as we know, Joe Biden has famously, well, not famously, but tragically lost his son, Beau Biden, in 2015, and has experience with tragic loss of his family decades ago. So he's familiar with the loss of a loved one. So, what do you think of Joe Biden's tweet in response? And all around, are you interested in knowing what happened to Robert Trump? In other news, today is the first day of school for many young people across the country. The hashtag first day of school is trending, and we're still at a standstill with coronavirus. We are approaching 170,000 deaths this morning. There are more than 170 vaccines in development aimed at ending the pandemic. They are mostly in their preclinical trials, but nothing yet has stuck. And of course, this is a lengthy process. In the meantime, there are infections still happening across the country. There has been no coordinated response to the coronavirus. And now that schools are reopening, it's asked us to reflect on whether or not we are willing to put our children in harm's way at a time where there's a great deal of uncertainty with regard to COVID-19. So should we be sending kids back to school today on the first day of school? If you're a parent, are you planning on sending your kids back? And what do you think we can do to best protect our children? So another bit of 2020 news. So as we know, Joe Biden selected Kamala Harris as his vice presidential running mate last week. And pretty immediately, the attacks on Kamala began, including a renewed attack on her place of birth. It seems like birtherism may be back. So this is interesting to me. We know Kamala Harris was born in Oakland, California. It seems like these kinds of attacks were very racist when they were leveraged against President Barack Obama to delegitimize his presidency by insinuating that he was not born in the United States. Now, to have these attacks resurface is very odd. Kamala Harris is known to have been born in Oakland, California. Is this offensive? What do you feel about birther attacks, and what do we do to best solve this problem? And is there a way that we can shift the conversation away from racist talking points and focus on the merits of the arguments? Live Life GOCBD says she or she has until the 20th to decide, and it's a difficult decision about sending your children back to school. Well, Godspeed. I hope that you can come to that decision with some clarity and do it while keeping your children safe. So let's see. The other big news of the week, of course, is the United States Postal Service. Now, there has been a lot of scrutiny on the U.S. Postal Service, led by Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, who last week started to collect mailboxes across the United States in this ongoing assault on voting by mail. And this was very problematic to a lot of people. Pictures started to surface on the internet of big trucks carrying loads of mailboxes being removed from areas. And people were very troubled by that. It's so much so that they were protesting in front of Mr. DeJoy's house, demanding that the federal government fund the United States Postal Service, which, as we know, is being stripped of its funding just ahead of the election, when we know there will be a heavy vote by mail response to the election. So on Friday, due to a huge pushback of concern from American citizens, the Postmaster General decided and announced that he would not be removing mailboxes, which seems like an absurd proposition. What do you think of this move? Are you made uncomfortable at all by removal of post boxes from your cities, especially swing states and battleground states? And did Louis DeJoy do the right thing by halting this program, or are we waiting for another shoe to drop? Let's see. Adam Cobb, the difference in empathy between the two sides is shocking. Well, there it is. Jukong 96. Even if you sit them in front of TED Talks for 8 hours a day, it's better than COVID and probably better than the American schooling system. I think that many would disagree with you. And I wonder where you got that. So thank you so much for joining this morning for on the AM Report with Alex Mahajer. I am Alex Mahajer. If you like what you hear today, please consider subscribing to our content at HAPS News. It's at haps.tv/@Alex Mohajer. You can also sponsor my journalism there. We are live every morning at 7:30 Pacific time for your 10-minute morning headlines on the AM Report. Thank you for joining and have a fantastic